as you know, we have the incredible Jade Green with us again. Jade is an internationally award-winning entrepreneur, rule breaker, and reverse engineering strategist. Jade helps you to discover the tools to build your business by your own design, to step out of the soul-sucking search for significance, and to do what lights you up inside. Today, she'll be talking about the goals you made in our Monday session. And if you didn't get a chance to see the Monday webinar, you can find the link to the recording in the chat box as well. However, it's during Accountability Friday that Jade really shines with her ability to drag you up the mountain to greater heights of success. So thank you for joining us, Jade. I will hand over the reins to you.
Thank you, my dear. What a wonderful introduction as always. I love having you as my host. It's always a pleasure. You light me up. Okay, guys. So make sure you've got your chat window open, she says as she opens the chat room. And I would love to encourage you to interact. I'll just ask you to put like a little, even sometimes just any key will do, just so I know that you are there, that you are participating, and if I can get a gauge on whether it's time for me to move on to the next question or whether we need a little bit more time. So just please interact. It makes it so much easier for me because, look, I find it really, really awkward just talking to myself on the screen. I'm used to doing Zoom meetings with everyone's faces showing and me being able to see what's going on with the process, ask them to put their hands up or gauge whether they're still writing. So when I can't see you, I'm going to rely on you to put your little messages into the box for me. Okay, cool. Now, I think I did mention this on the Monday call, but in case you're new or didn't, I always say that the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of the questions that you ask. So for me, it's always around asking ourselves better questions and asking us what's worked and what hasn't worked, so that we can iterate or we can really turn up the dial on the things that worked. So today I'm going to guide you through exactly the same questions that I ran with my Wetsuit CEO clients this morning in their Friday session. I even added some stuff along the way while I was doing stuff with them, because usually when I'm working with them, I channel and I gauge by what's happening with them, what needs to be asked at that point in time. So I had a plan, and then I've decided that this was what was coming back from the group and from what people needed right now. And so I'm really happy to be able to have had that run with them this morning and deliver this to you guys. So pen and paper, please. I want you just to take a minute to close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. We're going to do 3 of these. And what I'm asking you to do is to tell your brain to connect to your soul. And when we ask these questions, I want your brain not deciding, I want your soul answering, okay? So we're going to take 2 more breaths. Take a deep breath in. Out through our mouths. What we're doing right now is telling our lizard brains or our panic brains that we are safe, and we're tapping into our parasympathetic nervous system to say we are safe and that we can take the time to relax into this and be honest with ourselves. So on the last breath, just commit to yourself that you're going to be raw and honest, give yourself the real feedback today, and that we're not going to be guided by our anxiety mind. So on the last one, take a deep breath and exhale, open your eyes. And I want you to answer for me. How would you summarize the week that was? Get some thinking music. Kate, just tell me if it gets too loud. So just blur out with these questions. I love word vomit. Bleh. Oh, hello, Miss Wendy Dawson. Great to see you here. I miss you, old friend. Once you've word vomited out how you would summarize this last week, can you just pop into the chat box just 1 or 2 words that would encapsulate the feeling of the week that was, please? I'll know when we've got words in there that we're ready to move on. So I'll give you a few more minutes to keep going. Ooh, driven by my decisions. Love that, Wendy. Refreshing, productive, and chaotic, Kate. Busy and quiet. Quite some contrasting words there for both of you. That's amazing. Frustrating. Melbourne in lockdown. Yep. Okay. So now I want you to write down, what were your wins this week? Just everything that comes up. What was a win? What was a win? Beautiful, Susan. Amazing, Peter. Completed new client workbook, connecting with new people, supporting businesses, scheduling some amazing guest speakers. Oh yeah, Kate, remind me, I've got that amazing guy who is an expert on deep listening that I did a podcast with yesterday. Okay. So I want you to ask yourself now and take a note, what sets you up for that success? So what behavior or activity, what things actually led to those wins? It's really important for us to recognize these things, because that's how we can start turning up the dial. So let's reflect. When an athlete performs, they look at what worked and what didn't work. So what worked for you last week? Yeah, what worked? Not engaging in negativity. Deep breathing. Perfect. Can-do attitude. Love it. So just think about, how can you replicate that? How can you duplicate it for next week? Kate, a very important one for when you're working remotely, creating a dedicated workspace and limiting the distractions, turning off binging noises, making sure you feel like you've gone to your office. Okay. So now conversely, we also want to look at what didn't work. So what are you disappointed in from the week that was? So really think about it. What's been disappointing? If you reflect back over the week, what disappointed you? Dealing with other people's self-limiting behavior. So I want you to ask yourself, how could you iterate or adjust to not have it replicate next week? To have less frustration or disappointment? Or if we ask the question, what didn't work? What can you do to prevent that from happening again? Now, I'll share on the call that I did this morning, we actually paused here because we went into some sharing. And one of the common things that came up, can I just get a numeral 1 in the box if this resonates with you at all? My guys found that they found themselves a little bit disappointed in being a bit hamstrung by their anxiety. So they found themselves really anxious, and they were either procrastinating or not as positive or not as productive because the anxiety was really flaring up and they weren't really in control of it. Then we went a little bit deeper on that, and when we went deeper on it, we found that it was actually some of our own negative self-talk, and we had that like nagging bitch on the shoulder adding in some negative self-talk, and that was putting them into a little bit of a spiral. Now, my guys are pretty good. They've got some really good tools on how to pull themselves back out of that and correct pretty quickly. But is that something that you've ever had a challenge with? Is there some of the anxiety that's holding you back or making you less productive, a little bit more procrastination? Or is there some limiting beliefs or negative self-talk that you would love to squash because you know if you did limit that next week you would be in far more high performance mode and a lot happier? Now, I gave the guys a tool that is easy for everyone to do. If this is something that you struggle with, and it's a book, you can listen to it or you can get it in hard copy. I actually bought it for my roommate. It's called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And it's really great for recognizing the chat in your head. And once we are aware of it and we know that we are not our thoughts, you can learn to silence that. And Jade, what was the numbering again? The question was just a number 1, Wendy, if this resonates at all, if you have suffered at all with anxiety causing procrastination or negative self-talk holding you back and maybe not putting you in peak performance mode. Yeah. What was really important, and the reason why I shared that is because on my call, every one of them on the call thought that they were the only one that dealt with that, and that everybody else, all these other people, were high performance entrepreneurs and not afflicted by this issue, and there was a lot of shame around it. And so it really opened up an amazing conversation and sharing. Even though my group's pretty tight, it took them to another level. So I just want you guys to know that if there's something you are struggling with, you're not alone, and don't be ashamed of it, and don't be afraid to reach out, but to also seek some tools that you can use. Like, I can tell you right now, I personally was stuck in a loop last night, and I had like the imposter syndrome. I had a whole lot of negative self-talk going on. I could recognize that the voice that was berating me was actually my ex-husband. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do to stop this? And I did something that I never ever do. I watched Netflix. I don't normally do that sort of stuff, but I knew that the only way to get myself out of my head was to pattern interrupt me. So just think about what could be your pattern interrupt. Learn that you are not your thoughts, and that you actually can control them and can stop them and repattern them. Cool. Okay. So where was the majority of your time and energy spent in the last week? In my brain. Yeah, overthinking. So I want you to ask yourself, did that serve you? Yeah, online's an answer, Wendy. So I want you to ask yourself, does it serve you? Now, another question I have on the back of this though was just, I'd love to see again, just if this is you, just any key, like any key into the box, I don't care, just mash keyboard. If you were in control of your week last week and it was not in control of you, then put something in the box. If you felt like the week was in control and you weren't in control, leave it blank. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling more anxious than ever. So by typing the box, guys, are you telling me that you were completely in control of your week and the week did not control you? Yeah. So I really would just want you to think about it. The way you can figure that out is, were you reactive or did you work your plan? So if you did you have a solid plan that you stuck to, or were you in reaction mode? Were you having to put out fires? Were you having to run around? Did you change course? Did you change focus to react to a situation? Were you in anxiety mode because of things that were going on? Yeah. So now I want you to think about then, if the time spent and energy spent was not serving you, and if you weren't in as much control as you would like, what is a few things that you could do to gain more control next week? So a few ideas could be to do an ideal week planner. Yep, diary management, meditate, set boundaries. So remember on Monday we talked about boundaries as well and communication. Limiting distractions. So I just want you to take a couple of notes there, guys. What could you do to be more in control next week? Meaning that you're less reactive, that you work your plan, and that your time and energy is spent where it actually serves you. Okay. Now, what did you learn this week? What did you learn about business? And what did you learn about yourself? Yeah, good one, Susan. Set boundaries for yourself and continue to work around the limitations. Be more assertive. You are always stronger than you think you are. Correct, Wendy. So what did you learn? We should always be learning every day. And it's often, we don't realize what we learn. Most of the time, I say this with everyone, you don't have a knowledge problem, you have an implementation problem. So we go about our day, we learn something new, we think, oh, that's great. And then we get off being busy, we start being reactive, we forget what we've just learned and we don't apply it. So it's a great practice to get into at the end of every webinar, at the end of every meeting, at the end of every book, every podcast, every conversation, to just take a minute to take stock and write a note of what did you learn during that particular piece and how can you implement it? Oh, reception. There is a limit and you can control it. I'd love you to read The Untethered Soul. I think that would be super helpful. So guys, I want you to think about what you learned about business and what you learned about yourself this week, and what will you do to implement and integrate that learning? What's the action? Something I learned on my podcast with the deep listener yesterday was that the difference between listening and hearing, so the difference between hearing and listening is action. So it's what you do after you've heard. That's a great one, Susan. Way too distracted this week. Need to look at what the triggers are and a plan to limit the distractions. So take one little thing you can do is just as you go through, what I did with the Wetsuit CEO guys about 2 weeks ago is they had to take a tally every time they got distracted and note down what the distraction was. And just by being conscious of that, they were able to pull themselves out of the distraction pretty quickly. And if it's something like it's because it's a mood thing, having a trigger, a habit that gets you back on track. So either it's pump up tunes or get up and move or have a glass of water, whatever it could be, to get you out of that state and back into a productive state. Okay. If you had a magic wand to wave over the week that was, what would have you changed or tweaked that's in your control? So not about COVID lockdowns or any government stuff or things outside of our control. I want you to think about what is in your control. If you could wave a magic wand over the week that was, what could you have done to make, or what could you do to make the week better? And again, what is the step you can take towards implementing that? What's the action that you can take? Okay. Now, just can I have in the chat box, who's heard of flow state? Anyone know about flow and what flow is? Yes. Big resounding yes from Kate. Okay. So flow is, if you think about, you've heard race car drivers talk about that moment they're in the zone, sports people, when they're in the zone. That's like, of course, Wendy. When you're in the zone, you're in flow state. That's where time either expands or contracts to suit you. So, you know, like if you are a race car driver, time slows down and you can see every little thing where you need to be on point. If you're a surfer, for me, time just disappears. Like the other day I was like, oh, my shoulders are a bit sore, better go in. I want to go for another surf this afternoon. Came in, I was like, oh, it's been 3 hours. No wonder why my shoulders are hurting. But for me, it felt like, I don't know, 20 minutes. So when you're in flow, time is not relative. To get ultimate flow, where it really helps you to be productive, it's on the edge of your limit. So it's on the edge of like being able to challenge you, but excite you and be within your skill set, but you still have to push just that little bit and you're ultra focused. So I do a whole bunch of teaching on flow. I'm a performance and flow consultant. So there's a whole lot to do with understanding what your natural genius is, your personality type, how you can create and craft flow states. If anyone is really interested in that, you can reach out to me about it. But if you just want to do reading on it, there's an excellent author called Stephen Kotler, and I'll make sure it gets into the show notes. And he wrote a couple of books. He's got Rise of Superman and Stealing Fire. And I have a really funny story where I stole Stephen Kotler's fire to light a joint. Sorry, Wendy, on a boat in Jamaica. It was relevant. And he really studies how like SEAL Team 6 get into flow and how you can create team flow even without speaking. So there's some really great stuff there. But my point with this is I want you to think about what could you have done differently last week to be more in flow, which would make you more productive and ultimately more happy. When you're in flow state, you are in a state of contentment and elation and joy and energy. So what could you have done differently last week to be more in flow, more productive, and ultimately more happy? Okay. So there's lots of things we can think about, especially for people that are now working from home. It should be applied in any offices though. But if you think about what your environment is, what gets you in the zone, what sets you up to be in the mood as well. So for me, Like before I get on my calls in the morning, I've got my oil diffuser going. I have a certain scent depending on my mood, whether I need to be more creative, more focused, more uplifted, more grounded. Sometimes I get a little bit too high vibe and too high energy, when you know nothing about me being like that at all. And I need to like ground, and I have a song that I listen to if I need to ground. Then I have pump up tunes if I need to lift. I have my desk has to be clean. Like if there's, I'm OCD, so if there's messy desk, oh no, can't happen. I need to have it clean, otherwise I'm distracted. I don't feel, my energy's off. So I want you to think about, like, even what you wear gets you into a state. So what do you need to do to set yourself up to be in that zone and be on fire? I'd love some shares in the chat box. Get dressed for the task. Get dressed for the job you want. Kate and I had a wonderful conversation about being dressed before this call. Can I get a Y for yes in the chat box if there's if anyone has got on a Zoom call wearing something that's not actually business on the bottom? Can you guys give me, while you type that, give me 2 seconds. I have a bang at my door. Surfboard guys dropping off pieces of my surfboard. Bye. Lucky I had my pants on when I jumped up, because sometimes I've still got my bikini bottoms on. Only 2 Ys? I think you guys are lying. I think there's people out there that are still wearing tracksuit pants right now. Okay, so thinking about the flow state, ultimate performance, what do you need to keep, delete, and start doing? So think about your habits, your behavior, your routine, your thoughts, your mindset. What do you need to keep? What do you need to delete? And what do you need to start doing? So you may need to delete some apps off your phone. You might need to start putting your phone in airplane mode when you're in work mode. You might need to start meditating in the morning to ground yourself and to limit the anxiety and the negative self-talk. You might want to start reading some more books to help with that stuff. I'd love some shares in the chat box, guys. I love interaction. It's weird for me talking at just Kate's picture. Come on, some shares. Words with friends? What's that? Is that like the Scrabble app thing? Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, good one, Peter. Let me give you a tool. So he says map a week schedule and stick to it. So here's something I prepared earlier in case you didn't get it on Monday. Ideal week planner, which I actually go through. There's a short video in there on how to do it as well. I talk about how to unpack. That's right. We'll get you the replay, Peter. How you unpack all the tasks that you need to do, and then how you can put them into the energy and the frequency of that task so that you can batch them together to cultivate flow state during those areas, and how you can turn up the dial on your genius, and how you can make sure you're fitting in all of your tasks, like the shitty things and all the life stuff, as well as your work, the stuff that actually makes the boats go faster rather than just the busy stuff, and get you working towards your goals and still living more. So yeah, jump on and have a look at that ideal week. I found that also If you have a partner, a lot of my clients have said that it's kind of saved their marriage during COVID, because if they were both stuck working from home and had kids and things like that, being able to do the ideal week plan, understand who's got what tasks that need to be done when, and when they, if one's got to be on client calls or meetings, who's going to pick up the responsibility of the kids, all of that has saved. One of my guys literally saved my marriage. So yeah, have a crack at that. Okay, what else? Who else has got something to share? Yeah, adjust the workspace. I don't know about you, but I'm super heavily affected by environment. And if I'm not in a motivating and inspiring workspace, I'm like, my energy is all sorts of messed up. Oh, see, that censored myself, Wendy. All sorts of messed up. And I can't get comfortable. I can't get in the zone. My creativity is completely limited. So really think about, even if it's just a picture, a photo, a plant, anything. Habit tracker, anything, that's perfect. Okay. Now, is there anyone that you need to have a conversation with, like reflecting back from Monday, any conversations that you should have had that would have helped you to be in peak performance mode? So boundary setting, communication. Yeah, yourself. Absolutely. Did you guys appoint an accountability partner? Do you need to get an accountability partner after doing this process? No and yes. It makes a big difference. We're even in an accountability. So with my wetsuit guys, we have a WhatsApp group chat. And so we share the 3 things that we're doing for the week in there, like the accountability. And it's got habit tracker stuff in there as well. Like one of the guys wanted to have 3 alcohol-free days. And so he's got a report, and El-Marie wants to make sure she's asleep by 9:30. She's in Texas. So Kyle messages her, I think that works out to be about 12 o'clock his time. He sends her a message to say, make sure you're getting ready for bed. So it's an awesome little thing, that it's just a little chat to check in. One of my girls, she's really struggled with doing her budget. And so I message her each day to make sure that it's done and how they're tracking. Gonna message me on LinkedIn? Yes. Or is that for any? Yep. Great. Okay. Radio. Tell yourself, what is the biggest challenge in your business right now? So if you think about your business, what's the biggest challenge right now outside of COVID? Yeah, going entirely virtual, missing that human interaction, playfulness that comes with in person, finding meaningful engagement. Okay. So I want you to have your best guess. What could you do to mitigate that? So is there anything you could tweak or adjust in how you interact online to have more meaningful connections, or to have more playfulness? Sometimes what I found was people show up a little bit different when they're on Zoom calls than what they do in person. They just think that they've got to be a bit more professional, or like, I don't know, like a on-camera personality comes out or something. What could you do to maybe drop those barriers? What could you do to get people to connect more and to act a little bit more like they would if they were in person. So Susan, what could you do to maybe instigate making them a little bit more fun or a little bit more inspiring? Is there anything that you could do to help with that? We do we have take turns on who's going to play the pump up tunes before we get on our group call. So when I came on today, opened up my call and Kyle was already pumping some old school R&B hits, which was super fun. Sometimes Shannon's got the Rage Against the Machine going on. We do Friday beers. We dance. We tell jokes. We do eye gazing. So just have a look at what your challenge was, and I just want you to think. Don't think about how. Just think about what is some pie in the sky ideas that you could have to try and change that problem. You don't know what eye gazing is, Wendy? Okay, it's a bit like Avatar, the movie Avatar, where they're what is it? I see you and I am here. I think that's in the scene. So with eye gazing, literally break people up into breakout rooms in the Zoom and get them to look right at each other, right in the eyes, and just hold space for each other and say, I see you. And the other person usually responds with, I am here. And then you do it back the other way and just get that deep connection through looking through the camera. And I'm hoping that I'm looking into the right camera at the moment because I've got two cameras going on. So that just brings a bit of the connection, because especially when people on Zoom, sometimes they're looking down here at their computer. So if I'm looking at my screen at the Zoom call, often I'm not actually looking into my camera. So that just gets us to reconnect properly. Okay. Now, close your eyes for a second, because I'm going to ask your soul to answer. So as soon as I ask the question, I want your eyes to pop open. I want you to write down whatever comes first before your brain starts trying to decide. Okay? Take one deep breath before I ask the question, in through your nose. Out through your mouth. What is one thing that would make the biggest difference in your business right now? And can I have the answers in the chat box, please? And he says, opportunity to shop and serve my clients. So think about what's in communication. So really think about what's in your control. What's the thing that would make the biggest difference in your business right now? Limiting beliefs around what you're capable of. Often this is the biggest thing. Often. So many of my clients, it's them. The thing that would make the biggest difference is if they got out of their own thing way. Look, censored myself again. I'm doing so good. I'm not going to be so proud. So, what is your best guess on how you could take actions on that? What is something that you could do to get out of your own way? Now, I'm not sure if I shared this on the Monday call or not. For me, I had some limiting beliefs around linking. Wendy will love this because she knows my history. I have a fear of success, and I cap myself because I have linked success to marriage failure. So I was hitting a cap and hitting a block. So the thing for me to do was to do a quest on Mindvalley. I did rapid transformational therapy for abundance, and that unblocked a whole lot of stuff that I didn't know I had around money, around limiting beliefs and where they came from, and the programming, and the linking of one event to my success and what was capping me. So it was a 30-day program, but that to me has had, I literally sacrificed doing other things to do that program, and that has had the most amazing impact. And it was like turning on a tap and making it rain with the clients that literally started. I woke up one morning to a client just asking me if they could be in my program, and then the next day I woke up to someone asking if they could upgrade, and then I had someone ask me if they could upgrade to my top program, just by changing the thinking. So I know it's a bit woo-woo. I'm a bit about the law of attraction and abundance, but also about taking action. You can't just sit there and fucking wish. Oh, sorry, no censoring. And hope that something's going to happen. You have to do the things, and you have to do the unblocks, and you need to sever the energy to be able to move forward. So if anyone has specific challenges, you may not know my other history being that I'm a Mindvalley trainer. I have lots of tools and things I could help you with if you've got anything around the limiting beliefs and different programming that I can help you with. Okay. So who is one person who could help you overcome this obstacle or achieve this biggest difference in your business? Yep, you, any? Who else could help you? So do you need an accountability buddy, or someone to talk to, or even if it is a book or a course and that person is a thing, to help you move forward? For me, it's my roommate, and getting her to be my accountability buddy to my habit tracker. And she does the quests with me in the morning so that we can go deeper into, rather than just journaling what we've learned from our quest and the stuff that we've unblocked, we actually talk it through. And then the next morning we talk about how we integrated that into our days. Yeah, lovely, Kate. Now, any you're stuck, any? Where are you stuck? Actually, if you can type it in where you're stuck, and we can, at the end, we can have a conversation as well. Okay. So what absolutely must be done today before the end of your work day so that you can roll into next week less stressed, less anxious, and set up for success and more productive? Blur out everything, word vomit it out. Okay. Then think about all other loose ends. I talk about like defragging your brain. Sometimes when you just got too many things running around in there, like, oh yeah, I must do that. Oh yeah, oh shit, I just realized I haven't paid a speeding fine. Better pay that because that's not on my name. all these things that are taking up space in your brain. How can you defrag it? What loose ends do you need to tie up? What do you need to get rid of so that, like, between now and Monday, that you're rolling in with a clean slate, with all your processes working properly? Yeah, wouldn't it be wonderful to come in on Monday, Kate, with all of the stuff you need from those speakers so that you're just ready to do your job? Not chasing, not in anxiety mode going, where the shit is this? Okay. So now if we think about next week, what would a successful week look like to you? So if you were to do this session next Friday and I asked you how to summarize the week and what the wins were, what would they be? What would the words be and what would the wins be? More flow state, more ease, yes. So really think about it, guys. Visualize it. What's going to consist of a successful week next week? You can think about milestones, think about KPIs. Ooh, and he's going to move from being a vision person to an action taker. We don't have a knowledge problem, we have an implementation problem. And a dream without do is just a wish. So what do you need to do to set yourself up for success? What are the things that you need to do between now and Monday to set yourself up for success? Is it create the ideal week calendar? Is it actually communicate with someone that's going to be your accountability partner? Set how you're going to communicate to hold each other accountable? Is it start deleting apps from your phone? Yeah, doing the ideal week calendar is super powerful. If go through on that link that I put in before, go through that, and if you need more help, I think I have I'll put a link here. In my Facebook group, I've got an even more detailed training on it, and I'll stick that into the chat so you guys can join it for free. I have a more extrapolated version of how to really unpack that and also how to stick to it. So just jump in there. Ooh, I love that. Get Charlotte to do her own ideal week schedule and goals. Okay. So who here, just put a Y for yes into the box. Who was on Monday's call or has watched it and had their 3 accountability tasks? Or even if you weren't, did you have 3 key action items that you were working on this week? Only 2 people had 3 main things, like the 3 biggest frogs to work on this week. I want you to think back to Monday and what you put down on your to-do list or action items that was the most important things to do this week. For those of you that did have the 3, I want you to put into the chat box, and anyone else that's playing along, if you had 3, like 1 for your first thing, 2 for your second thing, 3 for your third thing, and a scale of 0 to 10. So it looked like this in the box. So 1, if it was a 0, didn't even look at it, didn't even think about it, totally forgot about it, it's a 0. If it's a 10, I absolutely nailed it, done, it's completely off my list. So if I think about where mine are at, I probably would give myself an 8 for the first one. I'm probably sitting at a 5 for the second one, and boss the third. Lucky it's not the end of the day. I have time to make up for it. One of our guys who is almost allergic to Bundaberg rum, it's like his most despised thing in the world. If he doesn't make an additional 15 reverse marketing calls, Wendy, today, he has to drink Bundy for breakfast on Monday with the group. So he's got to the end of the day to make those 15 calls and get those send outs, but otherwise he's drinking Bundy for breakfast. So I want you guys to really hold yourself to account. If you didn't achieve what you said you were going to achieve and you had a risk and a reward, can you just type into the box whether you're doing your risk, like a risk or reward? And you have to do it. When you set up, Kate and Annie, when you set each other up for accountability buddies, you have to hold each other accountable to the risk and reward. If someone said they were going to do something and they didn't, you have to make them do whatever the risk and reward was. We'll see at the end of the day. Nice one, Annie. Gives you a little bit of a motivator to get shit done by the end of the day, though. Like, I said I was going to do this. I'm going to get it done. Rip the Band-Aid off, pull the trigger, make it happen. I'll do just about anything. Actually, I do anything to not have to eat the McDonald's, which is my risk. Okay. Now, I just want you to ask yourself, when we talked about the tasks that make the boats go faster, did you pick the right 3 things? In hindsight, were they the things that you should have focused on? And were they, oh yes, Kate, you were going to get that specific workout outfit. I want to see a photo of it when you're wearing it. So did the 3 things, were they the right things to focus on, and did you bite off too much? Or should you have challenged yourself to do a bit more? Or were they just, in reflection, not the right things? Okay. Now, my favorite thing is, how are you going to fill your cup this weekend to make sure that you're setting yourself up to be in peak performance mode next week? How are you going to nourish your soul, be kind to yourself, and to take some time to relax and recharge and re-energize yourself? So I'd love to see in the chat box, please, what are the things that you're going to do this weekend to fill your cup so that you can serve from overflow next week? I'm going to go surfing, hopefully, if the weather picks up. If not, I'll go for a skateboard. Big long run. Excellent. Come on, guys. Really think about this. What is something that you can do to nourish yourself and connect to soul, connect to source, and get yourself re-energized, ready to kick ass next week? Cuddles with llamas? Like real llamas? Oh my God. Can you send a photo, Annie? I want to see you cuddling a llama. Send it to me on LinkedIn, please. Oh, great one, Susan. Clear distinctions between working time and home time for sure. Delay stress and confidence in the schedule. Beautiful. Come on, what's some soul stuff though? Is it read a book? Is it go for a run? Is it smell the flowers? Is it get a massage for those that are allowed to do that? Is it listen to some music, have a bath? What can you do? Especially for those who have got kids or family responsibilities, something for you. Okay. And now, everybody into the chat box. What are your top 3 action items after today's call? So I want you to take a moment, look back over all of your notes, and whatever jumps out as the top 3 things that you need to actually take action on after this call, because you don't have a knowledge problem, you have an implementation problem. Change is inevitable. Transformation is a choice. So you need to make a choice to start moving forward and doing the things. So what is it that you're going to do from today, after today's session, from your reflection, to turn the dial and put you more in peak performance mode and moving more towards being happy? Oh, yes. Thank you, Peter. Oh, Kate, I dare you to put yours in airplane mode while you're watching the movie. Keep, delete, and start doing. Excellent, Kate. Yeah. What is it that you need to implement? Looking back over all of those things, the things that are going to make the most important thing to the business, the way you're going to get over procrastination or anxiety, how you're going to get more flow state, how you're going to replicate the wins. I haven't got something for everyone. Susan, what are you doing? Annie, what are you going to do? What's your 3? There we go. Take time to implement the good tips. Yes, even just carving time. One thing I learned was from being on my coaching calls, when I'm the student, I would back to back, and I still back to back at the moment, but I back to back my calls, and then I wasn't having time to actually integrate and to implement. So when I set times now in my calendar to actually do the tasks and the integration after I've done the call. Perfect, Kate. Make the study cozier, homework for the podcast, and create the ideal week planner. If I could give anyone a tip, it'd be do ideal week planner. Oh, Annie, heart. Yes, big cup of tea and 30 minutes gazing into the ocean. No phone, no interruptions. Give yourself the space. Perfect. Who am I missing? Susan. I haven't got anything from Susan yet. No one skates here. Okay. I trust everyone's done it. Kate, I'll let you come back on. I'm happy to open the floor and just be a resource if anyone wants to ask me any questions or probe any further on things or ask for recommendations on anything. Or I can share some tips from my podcast yesterday as well. So over to you. What do you want? What would you like?
Perfect. Well, if anyone does have a question for Jade, please obviously put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A box. Whilst that's happening, Jade, where can we find you?
Oh, yes.
Do you have anything that you want to plug?
Well, look, I think the most relevant. Sorry?
How's your podcast?
Oh, yeah. Let me pop the podcast into the chat box. The podcast is called Barrels in Business. Now, I designed it to be for busy beach-loving business owners. But anyone that is a business owner will benefit from the topics. The conversation I had yesterday with the expert around deep listening is just amazing for anyone, because we talked about even how to get your teenagers to listen, how to communicate with kids, how to listen better and get laid more for the husbands. That was pretty good.
Sure.
How the importance of silence in conversations. We've heard a lot about though, like, he who speaks last wins, but there was a great piece around it's actually the art of holding space, and that's allowing the other person to feel heard rather than us just always responding as well. So there's just so much gold in there. So yeah, the podcast is called Barrels in Business. It's on every platform. bit.ly / I'm putting it in the chat, Barrels and Business. This will take you to the YouTube, but otherwise you can just Google it, search for it on Spotify, iTunes, all the places, Facebook and everything. If there was one thing I was going to plug, it's not really a plug, it's encouraging you guys, would be, again, the Ideal Week Planner. Because I think that from our conversations, that could be a game changer for everybody. And then what I'll do is I'll just put, where did it go? I'll just put all of my details into the chat in case anyone wants to contact me.
And as always, I'll follow up this webinar with an email, and I can also include these details as well, but definitely jot them down for now. That's awesome. And aside from that, look, I'm very conscious of everyone's time because we've run a little bit over, which that was such an inspiring session. It was such a good session, Jade. Thank you so much. It's always so incredible having you here. I feel like everyone's going to dance off into the weekend feeling, invigorated. All right, everybody. Thank you for logging on, and I can't wait to see you all online again soon. All right.
Thanks, Kate. Bye, guys. Have an amazing weekend.